I would not be able to say certain things, and whether it's names or even things that happened. And so that made me focus on the structure. If you don't have the name and you can't always tell what, then how do you tell a story? And this is getting the testimonial a lot about structure. That was like a diamond refined, okay? Because my understanding of structures began to grow, and so I could see, um, and I began to learn about things that happen in the structure. So the ranking of what people need to do, whether it's testimonial of other people, or what is going on, and so it began to be so that I would know to predict by the structure, sort of like what level of um, participation, so to speak, in ungodly things, sozusagen, was required from the person at a different rank. And so the persona became, and then I understood very quickly that just like children are expendable, then people are expendable, and with the public figures, but also the elites are expendable. It begins from before their birth, and that is, and then because they want to make sure that things will not come out or leak, then the junctures of leakage, which is where people would go to help to get help, but also where what people would need. So you think about land, about housing, um, all the basic things that heal psychosis to basically do. Okay, open dialogue, housing first, as was practiced in Finland. Um, and so knowing that, I began to understand more about the structures, and so what the truth was is that the truth just became more refined, because if you can't say this name and you can't exactly say what, whether it's because of your dissociation that you can't repeat the words, or because it's difficult to explain to things because some things are done on other levels, okay, there is programming and so on, and and you want to genuinely generate a change, okay, it's not a headhunt. It's not making people because if it's a headhunt, I'm just another agent in the expandable praxis, okay, it's just like, oh, so now I'm an agent in the exposure of this person, um, and then what happens is that both the agent and the person get sacrificed, and sometimes the person doesn't get sacrificed, but they're going to be moved or removed to another position among the organizations, or to do other things. Okay, it's like you've been exposed here, but there are other things that we can do with you, and that's why for the Me Too, it was more difficult to speak, and at that point, a lot of people are like, I'm going to say the name, and that's going to mean everything, because we saw the people that were doing that as powerful, and some of them were visible, but very intimately you could see that, that is not the case. And so nowadays, I believe that what was done to the decision makers, they are just expanding the expandable, okay? And so when you think about the pyramid, you think about the person higher up the pyramid being more free. Well, that's not the case. You see it with CEOs, they have to work harder. Even working for a corporation like McDonald's, which is an international corporation, you see that you have to be promoted after a certain time, and then you work harder. So nobody really wants that. And then you're given honors instead of like really compensation for your work. That is copy paste what's done in those circles. And so people don't really have an incentive. And even in the most like, you know, the so much energy is being put into keeping people in this way. And I've been watching Annika Lucas interview, her most recent interview that she did in her podcast, more thoroughly. I kind of been rewatching parts of it, and that was like, oh my god, that rings so many bells for the structure of it. And so by the time that I would know, you know, that names would be named, I would already know, like, yes, of course. How did you expect this business person to be able to do that without being involved in the cult and in such rank that they would have to be doing that? Or how do you expect this politician to not be involved in the cult, and so on and so forth? That pertains to so much of society, whether it's the healing professions, whether it's social work or whatever. So that just only refined basically the truth and basically what I had to say, and made me be able to predict even to the level of who signed with blood more quickly. It doesn't mean that I don't have the letdown or the heartbreak when a name is exposed. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like in the back of the mind, I knew that's structurally not possible for them, but I was still trying to create a bridge, because a lot of them are trapped in these cults, and you know, can we get more whistleblowers? Can we get more done for the people? Can we get to intercept that democide? Because healing models exist, okay? Just like there's open dialogue, and there's Basil van der Kolk, who promoted rape, okay? So that's obviously not healing, and obviously serving we know what. Both of them originated in Netherlands. So open dialogue and housing first would basically mean that people are not imagining when they're talking about violence, even when they're talking about the more energetic stuff like psychic attack and so on, or programming. And when they are believed, then and they have to be housed, and they have to be housed independently of their ability to work, unless you're willing to have like a colleague we did next to you that with some authors programmed to commit mass murder. But that can be the person can return to themselves once they have the root chakra provided for, and once they have validation and acceptance that they can speak and be believed. And so the person begins to settle in being, yes, a human being. I'm not saying that this is the entirety of dealing with did, but it's definitely not something that you can just unroot people and expect them, yes, and not provide them for even that with dignity, by the way. And then, of course, these things, okay, this show us, this a Holocaust, this genocides, this democides, they are committed on a consistent basis in and among what we call the elite. And it just leaks to the rest of the population every once and then. So it's kind of like the pyramid is a little bit upside down. And we, the people, have been enjoying certain freedoms that are not available for those who we think are the most free. And that's something that I understand, yes, more and more. Um, because you think, if for me, the striking thing was when I came out of therapy, and the threat, okay, kind of like the no one will believe you, okay, they don't know what's energy, okay, meaning the world outside. Because I was saying, okay, well, this secret knowledge for healing and so on and so forth, this needs to be not secret, okay, this needs to be public, because the secrecy is what makes it what yes, of course I didn't know all the things that were shown to me, but I wasn't trusting the person to talk about this with them, definitely not with so much secrecy, okay. And so I began to, of course, look for who would understand. This is also how I reached my ex-therapist, because he understood, okay, energy. He understood this, he understood that. Oh, yes, because he was a programmer. Okay,